So there's a good chance that the Chiefs are back, and it is not a good sign for the rest of the teams in these playoffs. They were dominant in their game against the Dolphins, and maybe weather might have had something to do with it, but I think for the most part, you look at this game, Chiefs. They had such basically on both sides on the offense in terms of passing and rushing, 262 yards passing yards, 146 rushing yards. I mean, they just had a incredible game, and also the defense was dominant, right? Only 7 points, fewest in the playoff game during the Mahomes era. And again, is it the weather? You could say that, but hey, Chiefs played in the same game too, right? It's not like this was just a disadvantage only for the Dolphins in that sense. Although, the narrative around Tua is that he never really played in these cold weather games, and that could have affected his production there. And maybe so. But at the end of the day, right, the Chiefs got it done and the Dolphins didn't. But I think if you look at the game, though, Kansas City, they were pretty dominant. But I think the only thing I guess you could really pinpoint and be picky about is that they did struggle a little bit in the red zone, converted only 2 out of, I think, 6 opportunities in the red zone. But you know what? I don't know if that is. I think they'll get that fixed and have that be less of an issue going into next game. I think that the cold weather again seemed to have affected the Dolphins more, and Tua seemed a little uncomfortable in these kind of situations. And look, I think they end their season first round, and there was at one point in this season the Dolphins were incredible. They played had such a great regular season. I think at one point they were the greatest show on turf, right? Or the greatest show on grass or whatever it was. But I don't think that them losing this game should take away and skew the narrative of how well they played this season and how well Tua, I thought, played this season. He was fully played the full season, right? He was healthy, and that was a big step forward in just his career, and he's got a long career ahead of him. I think that they went into this game banged up, and I think a lot of people were aware of how banged up the Dolphins were. That's why, to me, I think Chiefs winning was probably the obvious answer here, and because they were starting to kind of get back on track, and it was one of those where Dolphins just kind of got caught at a bad time with injuries and even Tyreek, right? I don't think he was 100%, and Mostert and Waddle, I don't think they were 100%. So you look at that and as contributing factors, and it's a tough situation for them. But you go on the Chiefs now, and it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible to look at the success that Mahomes and Andy Reid have had. They have 12 playoff wins together, third most wins by a quarterback and head coach duo. It's pretty awesome to see them gain that level of success and keep it for such a long time. And you definitely saw that throughout this game and this season. They kind of stick with it, and I think it's interesting that this Chiefs team this year is such a different Chiefs team where they're a defense dominant team, right? It's not the classic Chiefs where it's put so many points up on the board and dominate offensively and win games that way. It's more of a defensive led team, and any way you can win the game, that's all that matters. But I think that's the difference with this year, and kind of the adjustment had to be through winning games really closely or winning games through defense, right? But I think in this game specifically, the person who stepped up the most, in my opinion, was Rashid Rice, right? I mean, he was really important in his ability to be a reliable target. And I think that he opened up opportunities for other players, including Kelsey, where they couldn't double team or triple team Kelsey as effectively, because they had to kind of worry about, people like Rashid Rice. And, when you have players who are able to be that other option outside of Kelsey, that's what makes the offense dangerous for Mahomes, and that's kind of what people thought they would have had with MVS or Kadarius Toney or players like that. But I think throughout this year, you kind of saw there was a little bit of a inconsistency with the receivers that Mahomes had. So I think if anytime in the playoffs you're able to have a reliable target, that's huge, right? And so far, I think Rashid Rice has proven that to be true for him, at least in this game. We'll see what happens moving forward. And also in the running game, right? You look at Isaiah Pacheco, and that's a huge upside for the offense to be able to have a great running game. And again, this game, the Chiefs were so balanced between the run game, the throwing game, and the passing game there. So, I think a lot of credit goes to both Pacheco and, Rice, but also, honestly, too, that interior offensive line. You got Humphrey, Tooney, Smith. They really helped that, control that line of scrimmage, right? I think that they were a big reason for having a strong running game there, right? Because, without that strong O-line, I don't think Pacheco gets as many carries and as many yards as he did. And this game, I think too, if you look at it, the Chiefs were just a more physical team. I mean, you saw that clip of Tyreek Hill kind of getting bullied on the line there. The Chiefs were just a stronger team. They're a more physical team. They played the game harder. And, in the end, right, that's kind of what, the playoffs is about. It's like, both teams going into it, there's skill on both teams, right? You're getting the best teams basically, at the end of the season here matching up and who can play harder, who can play more physical. And that's kind of what we got here with the Chiefs. And it's going to be a different look for the Chiefs moving forward. I think they're defensive minded or defensive led. I would say, and as they go up against the Bills, who are, I think, a very offensive-led team, it should be a fun game. And I wonder if it's going to be one of those high-scoring games, or if it's going to be a little bit of a closer game there between the two. We'll find out. But I think just in terms of the kind of team the Chiefs are, if they can pull this off, if they can make it to the Super Bowl, being such a different type of Chiefs team, it just adds to the brilliance of Andy Reid's team and Patrick Mahomes too. So you should stay tuned for that.